Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Also, a warm welcome from my side for this presentation, and thank you for taking the time to join us for this morning's presentation. Now, as you've heard, this presentation is specifically for master's and doctorate students. All other attendees, you are welcome, but if you are perhaps an honors student, we advise that you rather attend a specific session that is dedicated to honors students. For lecturers or supervisors, please contact the Turnitin desk so that we also can arrange for a training session specifically for your needs and how you support your students through Turnitin. So let's start. Okay, so first and foremost, okay, you have to have a clear understanding that UNISA does not tolerate plagiarism. You do need to familiarize yourselves with the various policies in this regard. They are easily accessible online. These policies are also updated regularly. So if you've read them maybe let's say when you've registered for the first time, or you read them in January when you started out with your studies, I would suggest that you read them again. Make sure that you are reading the latest version. Every version is improved with new examples and better and easier ways to address these matters, to explain them to you clearly. Because without a clear understanding of what plagiarism is and what UNISA's viewpoint is in that regard, you will not have the full advantage of utilizing a program like Turnitin, which checks for originality. There are also policies on the values, on student values, ethical conduct within the university, so you are welcome to view those as well. Now, what is plagiarism? Okay, so plagiarism at the Turnitin desk is viewed through the eyes of the Merriam-Webster online dictionary definition. That means that it is to steal and pass off the ideas or words of another as one's own. So meaning, this is a typical example would be like in school when one pupil copies homework from another pupil and pretending he did the homework himself. That would be the baseline of what plagiarism is. But it is more than that. It's not just only copying from somebody without crediting the source. Okay, it is to use another's production without crediting the source. So any form of production from another person, to commit literary theft. Okay, so to take ownership of a literature which has not been fully credited to the original author, or to present as new and original an idea or product derived from an existing source. Okay, so in very easy terms, it is a false representation of the origin of the work. So do keep that in mind when you do your work and when you continue forward. So how does Turnitin fit into this? What role does Turnitin play? So Turnitin is a teaching tool that is used by UNISA to prevent plagiarism by checking the originality of the content of documents. So the intent of the Turnitin usage is not to try and catch you at plagiarism, rather quite the opposite. It is there to teach you and assist you on how to deliver original work and how to bring your own voice forward in the work that you are doing. And that is done in order to build academic integrity throughout the institution, and it lends that integrity to your qualification as well that you would take forward in life. I do need to give you a warning before we continue. This is a warning of protection. So this is to protect your own work, your own intellectual property. You only, but only submit with your MyLife email address. You submit your work yourself within the formal UNISA submission space that is provided. So that the space where you are required to submit your work, that is where you would upload it. You will access it only through your My Life email address, and you need to do it yourself. Okay, this is the best way that we can protect your intellectual property. We can recognize your authorship for the specific submission. In other words, you are not going to give your work to a friend or a family member or a colleague, or just somebody you know, just to do it on your behalf. And I especially wish to warn you that there are many people out there in the world that offer so-called Turnitin services. They will advertise and they will tell you, oh, but I will do your Turnitin report for you quickly so that you get a nice report. Be very, very careful that these are often persons with false Turnitin licenses. They give a false reproduction of your work, and they most often steal your work and sell it off to other people. So stay clear of that problem, and only submit your work yourself. It's also not the task of your supervisor or the teaching assistant or the M&D coordinator in your college. It's your work, it's your ownership. So you carry a responsibility for that, because at the end of the day, the qualification that you received, that is yours. That would also be your ownership. So handle your work responsibly, and beware of the fraudsters out there in life. Okay, now on that heavy note, let's start with the Turnitin activation. Now, Turnitin at UNISA as a registered M or a D student, you are automatically enrolled in Turnitin. So there's no need for you to ask for Turnitin. You don't have to buy a license. We do that for you. We also set up your profiles. The only thing that you are going to do is you are going to have to activate your profile. Therefore, ensure that your My Life email account is active and functioning well. Also visit that My Life email account of yours regularly. It is the formal communication method of the university, and that's the only place where we from the Turnitin team would communicate with you regarding your Turnitin profile or any of your submissions within the system. The reason being, your Turnitin profiles are confidential and they are protected within the institutional account. So therefore, we require you to communicate from your My Life email address in that regard, as that also serves as verification. We will send you a communication to your My Life address. Just maybe a tip from my side here, that check your junk mail folder or your spam folder also just once a week at least, just to make sure that nothing ended up in the junk folder and that you might have missed. You can just move it then to your inbox to view the content of the email. So from the UNISA Turnitin desk, we send you a student guide. We send you a quick step instructions on how to activate your profile. We also attach a frequently asked questions list that you would receive in your email. That will help you to start off with your Turnitin. Okay. Note that not every submission is probably going to require Turnitin, and as we go through this presentation, I will give you a few notes on how you would work together with your supervisor in that regard of when and what you need to submit. The files that you are going to upload, okay. From your welcome notice that we send out, in the student guide, we provide you with step-by-step images with arrows that will show you exactly what buttons to click and how to upload and how to view your originality report once it has been generated. If you have any questions, the student guide is about 6 pages long, but you can also consult the frequently asked questions list. It only contains 28 questions, and I am sure that 95% of your questions will be addressed by that specific list. So consult that first. If you do not find the answer, we will provide you with a contact email at the end of the presentation. And keep in mind that when you prepare to upload, that your submission to Turnitin is permanent. Okay? So you need to make very sure that you upload the correct document, so the correct version of your document, to the correct option in the program. The reason why it is permanent within the system is to protect your intellectual property for future and to guard against any other persons that might try and plagiarize from your work. Every submission that you are going to upload needs to contain a title page as well as a bibliography. The title page is there to help protect your submission and identifying that as being your own. And then the bibliography that will provide confirmation of the content within your document. It also makes for easy cross-referencing and verification of the findings within your work or statements made by the author of that specific document. Maybe just another note on the title page. You do not need to include every time the formal title page that says this is submitted in accordance with, etc., etc. A title page would simply mean that we need to have your name, your student number, the date, and maybe what it is that you are going to upload. Just right at the beginning of the document, you can just add a block. So meaning if you are uploading chapter 1 final version, then at the beginning of chapter 1, you would just include a block with your name, student number, the date, and that it is chapter 1, the final version, and then including the rest of your chapter with the bibliography, and that is then what you would submit. The reason for this being is that UNISA utilizes all-inclusive originality reports, exactly for the reason that it is applied as a teaching tool. So we need a comprehensive view so that your supervisor is best equipped to guide and advise you on any of the findings in the originality report and where you can approve or amend your content in the work being prepared. And remember, it is submitted permanently or stored permanently when you submit to Turnitin. Be very careful. Do not upload your proposal under chapter 5 or upload chapter 5 under the complete option for your dissertation or thesis. The complete submission option is only used at the end of your study. File sizes. Turnitin is most generous. You can upload a file that is up to 100 megabytes in size. Your maximum paper length, however, is 400. So if your document is just even 401, Turnitin will not allow you to upload directly. But this is not a problem. You simply drop us an email at the Turnitin team and we will assist you with the submission. Note that you are never going to split a submission or a document into pieces to upload in Turnitin. You always need a complete comprehensive document. Now, most of the time, I'm sure that you would not exceed the paper length of 400, but perhaps when you upload your completed dissertation or thesis right at the end of the study, before you enter into the examination process, then it might exceed 400 pages, and that is when we will assist you. The file type, best option is always to upload in Microsoft Word. Okay, that would definitely be your best option. It is easiest, it's the smallest to upload, and it also makes for easy reference. And it reduces the time that it takes to upload. Alternatively, it is possible to upload a PDF document, however, not a scanned PDF. So if you had a document in Word which was saved as PDF, so electronically created by the computer, then that can be submitted, but not a scanned one. And remember your inclusions. You need to have your title page with a bibliography or reference list, or if you are utilizing footnotes within your college, that needs to be there. Any declarations that are required to be included, your index, images, graphs, tables, all of that stays within the document. There's no need to take them out. So just like you would present that specific chapter or thesis to your supervisor, that is how you are going to upload to Turnitin. Okay. Now, this is just a reminder of what I had mentioned earlier, is that when you are going to upload, you need to make sure that you have the latest version or the final version of the document that you wish to submit to Turnitin. And you have to make sure that you upload it to the correct option. So if you're uploading a proposal, please select the proposal option. What we did with the Turnitin to help you and your supervisor is that you can utilize Turnitin right from the start of your studies. And that's the best time also to begin with Turnitin. Don't wait until you're halfway through or at the end of the study and think, oh, I must just quickly do Turnitin. Turnitin is a most helpful tool. It's your second best friend in the university after the library. That engage with Turnitin together with your supervisor during your time of study. So you are able to upload your proposal. It then provides you an opportunity for every chapter that you write. And at the end of the study, you will be able to upload your full thesis or dissertation. Also, there are revision options in that as you discuss it, but I will mention that again in another slide. You're going to upload directly from your computer. If it's on the hard drive or if you've got plugged in a memory stick, you upload directly. Or if you're familiar with Dropbox or Google Drive, you are welcome to use those options also. What is going to happen? Immediately on screen, Turnitin will give you confirmation that your upload was successful. Okay, so it gives you a nice green bar to say, congratulations, it's received your document. Okay, and it will send you a confirmation email to your My Life email box, which is referred to as a digital receipt. It's a very short email. It's 3 lines. It will simply confirm what document was received and in which submission space you have uploaded it. And you can just easily forward that email to your supervisor so that your supervisor is then also prepared that you've submitted your work to Turnitin. And then it will start running your originality reports within the program. Now, these are the different options that you would see when you currently would log into your Turnitin profile. You will get, for instance, in the example that I have on this slide is regarding proposals. Your first draft of the document you would upload as the research proposal. Turnitin is then going to generate an originality report for you. So that report may take up to 24 hours to generate because it's a comprehensive report and it needs to be done. Turnitin needs to run it through millions of sites and submissions within the database. So it does take a little bit of time, but it will not take more than 24 hours. My advice is always log in, upload your document, close, and go back the next morning. And then you are sure your report would be ready. In your student guide, we will also show you how you can see where when your report is completed and where to click to open the originality report. Because this whole process is fully online, Turnitin is not going to email you the report. You have to view the report online. And it is set up so it will allow you and your supervisor to look at the report simultaneously. So should you be speaking to your supervisor online or over the phone, then you can both look at it and you can discuss the findings. Then Following the advice, applying the advice from your supervisor, you can improve on your document or amend where necessary. And maybe you overutilized quotations, for instance, and you need to rework and paraphrase, input more of your own voice into the submission. You can do those changes, rework your original document, and then you have the opportunity to come back to Turnitin, and you can go to revision 1. And then you upload your revised document there. If there are substantial amendments required from your first draft of the document, I would suggest that you liaise with your supervisor on several versions of your document before you upload a revision to Turnitin. Turnitin is not intended as a debugging tool. So the idea is not that you are going to write a paragraph, upload it, write a paragraph and upload it. You work together with your supervisor, following the guidance of your supervisor. And then when you think that your document is ready and your supervisor agrees, then you upload revision 1, and Turnitin will generate a fresh originality report for you. Of course, if it does happen that another change is needed, you have a second revision option where you can upload the final version of your proposal in this specific example. And I know many of you might be thinking, but isn't it going to create a conflict if I upload my proposal and then a revision and then the final? Okay, no. Provided you follow our guidelines by uploading your work yourself in the formal Unisol space by using your MyLife email address. Turnitin will recognize and honor the authorship of the submissions. So there will not be a conflict between the draft and the revision, or the revision and the final. In very easy terms, it's not going to appear as if you plagiarized yourself. So you do not need to worry about that as long as you follow our guidance and that you upload in the correct order. Turnitin will in each instance generate a fresh originality report for you. Okay. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that I am speaking of an originality report. I do not refer to that report that's generated as a plagiarism report. Please do not call it a plagiarism report, because that's not what Turnitin does. Turnitin generates a report on the originality of the document or of the non-original content within the specific document. Okay, so the program itself will not say, yes, you plagiarized, or no, you did not plagiarize. That's not what the program does. When it takes your document to the database, it's going to compare the content with other data in the different repositories. So we have periodicals, it's just a loose term that we use for all sorts of publications that are hosted within the database. Of course, there is the internet repository, which consists of both the current and archived sites. There's a Unisol paper repository of all our Unisol student submissions, and then worldwide student paper repository. Now, that repository would include submissions from all Turnitin users across the globe, so both national and international submissions. There are really millions and millions of submissions in the database. Hence the reason why Turnitin says it may take up to 24 hours to generate the report. But honestly, in most cases, it doesn't take more than 6 hours, depending on the size of your document and the network speed at that specific point in time. So when I say the student paper repository and I say national and international, that would mean that all the universities in South Africa use Turnitin, as well as the majority of Africa also uses Turnitin, and then of course further into Europe, Asia, the Americas, Australia. There are thousands of institutions that also make use of Turnitin. Now, what is the originality report going to show you? What is it then going to highlight? It will highlight everything which is not original. So if there are portions of copy text, of course, that would be highlighted. If you have discipline-related terminology, that would be highlighted because it would be used across the discipline. Names and titles that you have would be highlighted. Direct quotes, because obviously those are not original, bibliographies and citations. So everything not original would be highlighted and color coded. So the proper analysis of your originality report will be done by your lecturer or your supervisor to identify plagiarism if it is present in your document. It doesn't mean if your document contains non-original content that there is also plagiarism. Okay, it needs to be analyzed by the subject specialist. That would be your lecturer or your supervisor. Please do not try and struggle on your own. Okay, it's not your role to try and analyze your originality report, but to work together with your supervisor on the findings of the report, and it helps you to understand on how you can deliver original work and import your own voice into the work that you are producing. So what is the actual difference between non-original and plagiarism? Okay. Now, I trust my colleague, Mr. Aubrey, wouldn't mind if I use him as an example. Let's say Mr. Aubrey presents a paper at a conference and I am in attendance, and he makes a profound statement. And I'm sitting there in the conference and thinking, but that speaks directly to the research that I'm doing, and I want to use that statement in my work because it complements my work as well. Yes, of course, I may use the statement made, but I need to acknowledge, I need to give credit to say that that statement was made by Mr. Aubrey. So I include it in my work. I acknowledge it. I can quote him directly even. And then my work goes through Turnitin. What happens? Turnitin is going to highlight that specific statement because it's not original, which is correct. It's not my own statement. That statement was already made by another person. So it will highlight that as being non-original. But did I plagiarize? No, I didn't, because I had acknowledged and I have even used a direct quote from Mr. Aubrey. So it's not original to me as the author of the document, but I didn't plagiarize. The opposite of that would be if I did take this statement, included it in my own work with no acknowledgement to the original source of the statement, and I'm now pretending that I am making that statement, and it fits very nicely into my own research. So I'm thinking, no, I agree with this, so I'm going to say this is my finding within the document. What is going to happen in Turnitin? When the document is run through Turnitin, that portion of text will again be highlighted because it is not original to me as the author of the document. But did I plagiarize in that instance? Yes, I did, because I did not acknowledge or give credit to the source of the information. And that's the big difference between the two. So Turnitin looks at what is not original, but it needs to be analyzed and interpreted by your supervisor on whether something is seen or not seen as plagiarism. Okay, so again, you get a similarity index on your report, so the percentage on the report, and that is also never referred to as a plagiarism percentage, because the percentage that's generated by Turnitin does not tell you if there is plagiarism or not in the document, or how much. It only shows you how much is not original. And through analysis of the document, it's possible to identify if plagiarism is present or not within a specific document. But the program itself will not accuse you of plagiarism. It only gives you the indication of the non-original content. Now, in this slide, I just have a shortcut out from an example document to show you what you would see if you open your originality report online. In your student guide, please be mindful that it shows you where to click, that you can unfold your match overview. That's a column on the right-hand side. You can see the encircled together with a 43% is a heading that says match overview. That provides you with a breakdown of all the sources in the database containing matching text to the content of the specific submission that Turnitin received. And these are then color-coded and they are numbered. Now, firstly, the colors do not have any meaning directly by themselves. So it doesn't mean if it's red that it's bad or if it's green that it's good. It's simply a way to differentiate the matches, and it makes it easier for you to spot the matches within the content and align them with the different sources in the database. So for instance, number 1, on the left-hand side in the text of my document, you can see that there are 2 lines that they are highlighted in red. There's a little block at the beginning with a little number 1 in it. So that would mean that portion of the text matches with source number 1 in my match overview on the right-hand side. So number 1 is then also in red. Now, the slide might be a bit small to read. So number 1 is an internet source. It is from Wikipedia. And you will see in the red triangle, it says 17%. Now, that is what we refer to as an individual match. That would mean that from that specific internet source, in this example, Wikipedia, which is number 1, everything in my document that you can see on the left, highlighted in red, marked with a number 1, amounts to 17%, 17. So that's how much of the whole document matches to source number 1. Obviously, in this slide, you can only see the first paragraph, but if you could have scrolled down through the rest of my document, you would see that there are several other instances of text that is also highlighted in red. My number 2 for this report was colored in pink, and it's again an internet site, this time the National Geographic. We can see on the left-hand side highlighted text in pink and marked with a number 2, and then in my pink triangle, you can see 14% for that specific individual match. So these percentages, they are calculated according to the match, and they are independent of your overall similarity index. Okay, but those are the ones, the individual ones, are the ones that we look at. For those, we are going to give you a guideline that you can use to scale your usage of specific sources, because you may use sources within your work, but they need to be acknowledged or accredited, etc., within the document. Your overall index, the 43% that I have on this example, that is for the document as a whole, and that is calculated separately. And I realize that many of you might have this burning question to say, but what percentage is acceptable? Okay. There is no acceptable percentage. Why? Because that percentage only tells you how much is not original. It doesn't say that there is plagiarism or not within the document. Okay. It means that you could have an originality report with a similarity index with a percentage, let's say, of 12%. But if it's analyzed and found that it contains copied text or blatant plagiarism, then that is going to be unacceptable, regardless of the similarity index. But potentially, you could have an originality report with a 20% similarity index. But when analyzed, the document does not reveal any blatant plagiarism. Due credit was given and acknowledgement for names and titles, etc., are found, and in that case, it may be acceptable. So do not look at your similarity index. Okay, your focus should always be on the originality report itself. You look at the content of the document. Don't watch the percentages. If you work and improve on the content of your document, okay, automatically your percentages would decrease. And your supervisor is going to look for the originality for your voice within the specific document. So, therefore, it's most important to discuss these findings of the report with your supervisor, because your supervisor would advise under which conditions a certain percentage of matching text may be allowed or is expected in your work, because it relates to the purpose of the submission, it relates to the topic that you are researching, etc. You might also have specific requirements in study guides and tutorial letters that have been provided to you by your department or your college. So you have to adhere to those as well. So your guideline for these individual matches is 5%. That would mean that any one of the single matches does need to be less than 5. If you'll permit me just to go back to slides. So where you can see my triangles, the red and the pink one, even my number 3, the 12% one, this is way above my 5% guideline. And the 5%, I know it's a very wide guideline, but we put it at 5% to accommodate for the usage of subject terminology, for using names and titles within your document. So that would accommodate for that. So remember, that is what you would use. If you're using too many quotes, for example, you do not necessarily plagiarize when you use direct quotes. But if you use too many of them, then the majority of the content becomes non-original, which then also moves into the arena of plagiarism, because you are the author of the specific document. From this specific slide, I just wanted to emphasize where you can find content support. Okay, so on research ethics, on integrity, on referencing styles, your subject librarian or personal librarian at UNISA is definitely the best person to consult. They can direct you to hosts of literature that they have in this regard. You can also access it on LibGuides, which there you can see the link. And then I've also included a link for plagiarism.org. It has got a very nice article on preventing plagiarism when writing, because especially when you are engaging in research or you're starting out with your proposal and you need to do your literature review and you're moving into this field and you need to familiarize yourself with the knowledge that is already existing within the specific field. It can be very easy to step into the trap of plagiarism without realizing it, without intending to plagiarize. Okay, so this is an article that helps you just to have an understanding and to see that you stay clear of those pitfalls. It is an international site which is used globally, so there might be finer details specified within your college, as I've mentioned in one of the previous slides, but overall they give you very good guidelines of what is seen internationally as a concern or a problem regarding plagiarism. And then, of course, for your technical support, very important, always, your My Life email address needs to be active. Okay. If you have any concerns or difficulties, contact the My Life help at unisa.ac.za to make sure that that your account is active so that you can receive the necessary communication. For Turnitin, of course, you are welcome to contact turnitin@unisa.ac.za. Please do make sure when you write to us that you write to turnitin@unisa.ac.za. If you type .co.za, that email is not going to reach us. So we have our own dedicated Turnitin desk specifically for UNISA students. But of course, you have the frequently asked questions list. Consult that first, go through the questions. Really, most of the queries that you might encounter would be listed in that, and that would address it. If there is an error message for whatever reason that you encounter which is not listed there, then you may contact us for technical support. Note that we cannot support you on academic content. So for instance, you cannot ask the Turnitin team, how do I paraphrase? That is something that you need to liaise with your supervisor. So we cannot help you with academic content or like what referencing technique to use, because there are other sources available. But technical issues like, let's say your originality report doesn't open, those kinds of things the team can assist you with. So thank you. That is the end of the presentation. Just again here, the Turnitin address at UNISA. And just a final note from my side, if you do write to the team, please include your student number, always in the subject line, and sign off your email with your name so that we are sure we're speaking to the correct person with that specific student number, and describe your problem when you write us. Don't just write help with Turnitin. Then the emails get sent back and forth until we have all of the information. If you can write to us with the most detailed information possible on your concern, it just makes it easier for us and faster to align and channel that specific query to the appropriate person to give you quick assistance. Thank you very much.